Welcome back to another video showing you the setup that I'm going to run this year for Horseheads. I run it on 6-pound test line, double 16th ounce Horseheads, double 16ths Horseheads. Sometimes I'll change the blades from a willow leaf to a Indiana to a Colorado, depending on water clarity. And so also just trying to find what the fish want that day. I got some new rods that I'm really looking forward to using. They are the B&M West Point. It is one of their cheaper rods. It's one of the cheaper B&M rods, but I think it's gonna do perfect running these 16th ounce Horseheads on 6-pound test line, lightweight, trolling for crappie. I think that rod's gonna do perfect. I'm gonna show you the knots that I tie. I tied 2 different knots for each of the Horseheads, and then I'm going to show you the baits that I run. Okay, here's the knot that I tie. I tie 2 different knots. The top one, I'm not exactly sure of the name of it. I call it a simple loop knot because you don't have to create the loop early, and you only have to put the line through the eye one time. So it is a easy knot to tie. You create the loop around your fingers, and then you take your Horsehead and spin it around 4 to 5 times. And then as you pull tight, I like keeping a finger in the loop so that it doesn't get too far away from the eye of the hook. Always wet your knot. I did not here in this tutorial, but there is the first knot. And then for the bottom, I tie a Palomar knot. So if you don't know the Palomar knot, you double your line. So I'm going to go through and then right back through. So you've got your line doubled. You're going to do a overhand knot. And then take that loop of your overhand knot and go around your bait and pull tight. So there is the traditional Palomar knot. So those are the 2 knots I tie. I will mention this on this loop knot, this crappie loop knot, it will cause some tension on the line. Now, it doesn't bother me because I've caught plenty of fish, plenty of big fish with that knot, so I trust the knot. But what it will do is if you get hung up in a tree, now remember I'm trolling, so if I get hung up in a tree, I've got a bunch of other rods out. I can't necessarily stop and go back and get that bait. And so that knot will break with the tension of being hung in a tree. I've caught catfish with it, I've caught bass with it. Fish does not tend to break that knot, but if you get caught up in a tree, it will break. The other thing I like about that knot, even though it does have that tension point when it gets hung up, it usually only breaks at the knot, meaning I get to save 1 Horsehead and I only lose 1 rather than 2. So just be aware of that about this knot, especially if you get hung up on something. Don't be surprised if it breaks off. All right, the baits that I attach to these Horseheads are grubs. I will use one of 3 main brands: Charlie Brewer Slider, the 1.5-inch crappie grub. Also from Slider, they've got these 2-inch minnow style grubs. I also use the Action Bait Company 3-inch grub and the Big Bite Bait 2-inch grub. And so it's a mixture of colors, mixture of styles and sizes, just trying to figure out what those crappie want for that day. That is the setup that I'm going to be running this year for trolling Horseheads for crappie. Hopefully this information will help you out and allow you to catch more crappie where you are. Thank you guys so much for watching. It means a lot to me that you watch my content. If you've not yet, please consider subscribing and give this video a thumbs up. Comment any questions that you may have. Let me know if you've got the West Point or if you run Horseheads, what you do different, what you do the same. Again, hopefully this helps you catch more crappie and we can help each other as a community of outdoorsmen become better fishermen.